Thank you, Tim. And you didn't promote your company. That's very good. So Molly Turner is a urban planner and also formerly the head of public policy at Airbnb, where she established that team and directed its regulatory collaboration with cities. She's currently a lecturer at UC Berkeley Haas School of Business. Molly, please come out.
Thank you, David. So we get to talk about some pretty amazing technologies at this conference. Yes, this morning we talked about autonomous vehicles. Right after this, we're going to hear about modular housing. Pretty incredible. I would say urban innovation is so hot right now, which means it's a pretty great time for an urban planner to work in the tech world. But back in 2011, when I joined Airbnb, my urban planning colleagues thought I was totally crazy. What would an urban planner do at a tech startup? But a couple years later and a couple big disruptive companies later, I think we all can see the massive impacts that today's technologies can have on our cities. And I was pretty lucky to have a front row seat at the edge of all of that urban disruption, and I learned a lot from it. And that's what inspired me to go teach our future business leaders at Berkeley about how to get urban innovation right. So when I started planning for my first semester of class this year, I was really excited to think about what are all of the massive, really important lessons from our urbanist past that I wish all of my colleagues in Silicon Valley who are working on cities would know about. I was feeling pretty smug, to tell the truth. And that was until I came across a really important lesson from our urbanist past that I knew nothing about. And in fact, none of my colleagues in urban planning knew anything about it either. It was diligently documented in a book written by an MIT professor named Jennifer Light called From Warfare to Welfare. And as I was reading this book, I had massive deja vu almost every other page. Because in this book, Jennifer talks about tech conferences just like this one. Except these are in the 1950s and 60s and 70s. And at that time, the big luminaries would get on stage and proclaim things like, the techniques that put a man on the moon are going to be exactly the techniques that we are going to need to clean up our cities. That wasn't Elon Musk. That was Vice President Hubert Humphrey in the 60s telling an audience full of aerospace engineers to fix cities. Now, we might think it's comical today to think that aerospace engineers would actually have the chutzpah to go and tell city leaders how to do their jobs. But that's exactly what they were doing back then, and that's exactly what Jennifer Light's book documents. In the book, she talks about these grandiose space-age city plans that the leading technologists of the time were pitching to mayors all over the country. But where are those space-age cities today? I don't see them. After several years of being on the receiving end of all of these tech pitches, the city manager of Cincinnati, Ohio said, I still have the same old garbage truck, the same street sweeper that doesn't work, and in general, the same system that does a very poor job of delivering the rather simple kind of services that the people I work for depend on. In other words, this is the exact same kind of complaint that I hear from city managers today. How are they supposed to build the autonomous vehicle bus fleet of the future, or figure out how to zone for modular apartment buildings when they're still running on Windows 3 in City Hall, and they can't even get reasonable citizens to engage in civil discourse in community meetings? Right? We need to learn from the lessons of our urbanist past because we're repeating the mistakes of our urbanist past today. So today, are our technologists going to keep pitching the space-age cities of the future? Or are they finally going to figure out how to collect the garbage, clean the streets, and actually provide the kinds of fundamental services that citizens need today? Thank you.